Well, what is going down, everybody? Welcome back to another brand new edition of Am I Still on the Air? That's right, the spinoff podcast where we come together to break down something very specific. We are live on our YouTube page, ready to talk about the number one movie in the world. Is there any guesses of what it could be tonight? Now, I know we're so used to talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but tonight we jump into the DC world, and it's time for the spoiler review of the Batman. That's right, the latest movie in this DC world is the Batman. And I am not running solo here tonight because, as always, we always got some peeps in the house. So my first peep in the house is this guy over here.
Hey,
Peeps.
hey, thank you for having me tonight, DONMEGA. Okay, we're not gonna do that on that. Hey, thanks for having me, my man. Appreciate it.
What's up, man? How's it going?
It's going good, and I am excited about tonight. So we got to get to it, man. We got to do it.
We got to get to it. We got to get to it. But I told you guys we're going to have the peeps in the house, and it don't stop there, ladies and gentlemen, because we got our third piece to the puzzle to the Red Dragons Radio assembled team up in here, and we got Frigginz. What's going down?
Hey, what's going on? Not much over here, except for maybe a little bit of Batman talk. So I'm really excited. I was kind of thinking maybe I should have come up with like a cool riddle. I didn't know like Peeps was gonna do the little figure thing, but nonetheless,
The riddle would have went really well.
Oh my god, it would have been great. But you know, that's for another time for the Batman 2, maybe. But for now, I'm excited to be here.
I was trying to one up me, Frigginz. Jeez.
No, you always bust out something special. I should know by now to be better prepared.
True. We were trying to rush and get this to you guys this weekend, man, because it's the hotness right now. We wanted to make sure we assembled this weekend and got you guys this spoiler review. Very excited. Our first big spoiler review of 2022. Woo. And we come in out the gates hot. So once again, make sure you start following the socials. We got the show right there. Am I on the Air? We got me, DX DONMEGA. Make sure you follow along. And these are all Twitter handles right here. Of course, we got Peeps over at For My Peoples, and we got Frigginz over here at the G's with the Z. So make sure you follow along, because tonight, once again, it's all about them spoilers. We are going to be breaking down this film, what we loved, what we didn't love, initial thoughts, kind of what we feel that maybe this part of the DC world is maybe headed. Lots of stuff to kind of dive into. So, man, I'm excited to talk a little bit about Batman. So, from my understanding, I think we all enjoyed this film, maybe on different levels, but I think we all walked out saying, pretty solid work over there. So man, where the hell do we even start, right? So we'll just start over here as we typically do with our overall thoughts. So, you know, this is kind of just, like I said, just hitting the theater, walking out. What are those feelings, man, as we start to kind of come out those doors and the light hits our faces and we're like, man, we just sat through 3 hours of this DC movie. And how do we feel about it? How do we feel about another incarnation of Batman, right? Because we've been watching from Michael Keaton to Val Kilmer to George Clooney to Christian Bale to Ben Affleck and now Robert Pattinson. So, man, this is a character that has just been evolved so many times over and over, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes in between. But, man, this was a whole different iteration here. So, you know, I'll say I got lucky. I was able to see it on Wednesday. Got to go to an early kind of fan screening, and I was excited. I was really excited for this. Didn't know how I would feel completely walking out of it, right? Like I had different mixed emotions. For some reason, because maybe it wasn't in the DCEU, I felt a little bit of hesitation because I am a big fan of the DCEU. I like what they're setting up. Obviously, there's some hesitation on my part because I love Ben Affleck so much. And now I have to kind of take that out of my head and get ready for a new person stepping into Batman. Where this movie, when it originally started to kind of happen, it was still supposed to be Ben Affleck doing this movie for Matt Reeves, and then Matt Reeves decided to kind of go a different direction. Ben stepped down. He was able to take it out of the DCEU and make this kind of Elseworld, you know, DC. That's what's something cool that DC is starting to do, which is these, you know, they want these filmmakers to make these movies that don't necessarily have to be in the enclosed universe, and they could be doing their own thing. So that started with the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, you know, that is an Elseworld Joker, right? And then now we have this Batman that's on another world. And so it doesn't have to tie in. It doesn't have to have any other superheroes. Matt Reeves steps in. I like Matt Reeves. He did the last 2 Planet of the Apes movies. He did Cloverfield. Like, I like his vision. I know he's a massive Batman fan, and this is something he's been working on for years, trying to get this movie right. I mean, it's been long in development. This movie was supposed to come out last year, and obviously COVID shut it down a couple times. I mean, even Robert Pattinson had COVID at one point when they were making this. So a lot of stuff has happened to kind of get us to now. March 4th, this movie comes out. It's been a hell of a ride. So once again, I didn't know how I'd feel. I love the trailers, but I was still a little bit hesitant, especially with, I was never sold on the Robert Pattinson casting as Batman. I was sold on pretty much everything else. I thought Colin Farrell looked great as the Penguin. I thought, you know, Paul Dano was an interesting choice for Riddler, and especially since they were going with this like Unabomber kind of like, you know, like the Zodiac Killer kind of version of the Riddler. That, you know, with Catwoman, Zoe Kravitz looking awesome. I mean, I love what they were setting up. But I still wasn't sold on Robert. And so once again, going into it, I'm like, ooh, it's 3 hours. It's going to be chunky. It's going to be a lot to digest. How am I going to feel about it? And when I walked out, man, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a breath of fresh air. I thought it was an amazing, different kind of take on Batman. Once again, we just talked about how there's been so many iterations of Batman throughout the years. And it could be just something, it's like, oh, we've seen this done and we've seen that done, and it's just the same old again. But it wasn't. It was something so fresh and unique. And even though it was characters we've seen before, they were all done in such a different way. Even though this was a grounded take, once again, like Christopher Nolan did, it felt fresh. We got to see the detective Batman. We got to see him try to solve this crime. And basically, the way I looked at this movie walking out was, it was a murder mystery that just happened to have Batman in it, like, which I thought was a really cool kind of different kind of take. I know that, you know, Frigginz, I think you said over the weekend you had trouble kind of even considering this a superhero movie, right?
Yeah.
And like, and I can see that. I can understand that. Like, even though it's a Batman movie, it didn't feel like the normal kind of superhero Batman movie. It just felt like this world that had this vigilante that was helping fight crime and trying to be this do-gooder. And I was just blown away by it. I mean, by the aesthetic, by just the story, by how they were able to handle the violence in a PG-13, but still make it like dark and brooding. And I was blown away, man. I was really blown away. So from that overall thought perspective, that's where I sat with it. So Frigginz, I'm gonna throw it to you, man. Like, just kind of walking out, like, where was your head going into it, and where was your head kind of coming out?
Well, I think you pretty much wrapped up everything. So we want to just close out the episode now. I mean, you had everything out there.
Go ahead and follow us on Twitter.
No, I mean, my whole overall experience was a little strange, kind of coming into it and then experiencing it, and then what I got coming out of it. Where you said you had like a lot of hype for it coming in. Originally, my hype was a little bit lower because I very much, like you, really liked Ben Affleck as Batman. And I was over the moon hyped when they were reporting that he was coming up with his own story and he was going to do, write it and direct it, and it was going to be in Arkham, and all this like sounded really, really cool. Everything I was like hopeful for. And I really enjoyed the Batman, Ben Affleck Batman. So my hype originally was pretty low, and then when we see the first teaser trailer, I think I had a little bit more of a hype, and the announcement of Pattinson playing Batman actually got me a little bit more excited, because once I learned that he was going to be Batman, I had just went on like a Pattinson kick where I saw like Good Times, and then I saw The Lighthouse, and I was just really amazed and blown away by his acting ability. So it kind of got me to where I was okay with that casting, but I still didn't have this like excitement for another Batman because of the fact that they were going back to a grounded world. I was like, we just did this with Christopher Nolan. We're finally getting into like, over the top Batman, right? So like,
here we go.
Why are we going back? But then that first trailer hit, and I was like, what? This actually looks really neat. And I think
And
that
then Marvel
changed.
pushed Doctor Strange back 2 months.
Exactly.
Remember?
And then
They
all
were
the
like, "Yeah, we
delays.
can't be in March anymore. We
Nope,
gotta go."
we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And now I did avoid all preceding trailers thereafter. I think literally when I was watching Uncharted, the trailer came on and I just put my hat down like this so I couldn't see. But I watched this thing and I was just so awestruck about the experience because it was hitting on genre movies that I like, and it was a Batman movie, and it almost didn't make sense in my mind. I'm like, what am I even watching? Like, there was especially the opening scene kind of setting up this Zodiac killer, almost horror. There's one scene which I'll talk about here in a second, but like I was like, that is some creepy crap right there. And I was instantly blown away. I loved that experience of this detective, as you mentioned, Don. We finally see that aspect of Batman, which we didn't really see before. And then like this mixture of mafia and then a sprinkle of actual superhero stuff in there. It was like seeing multiple movies all at once, and I loved it because it was all the types of movies that I really love. They even found ways to sprinkle in a touch of a Western vibe in a couple scenes with like the Spurs walking and stuff like that. So it had
He didn't have
a
Spurs on. Stop it.
it wasn't, but it sounded like it.
Yeah, no,
But
I
it
know
was,
what you're talking about.
but
He
I
has a lot of metal on his suit.
yes,
A lot,
lots of
a
metal.
lot of clinging and clanging.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that experience of being able to hit all these genres at once really caught me off guard, and I very much liked it because it hit on the different um genres that I really really enjoy, and even to some extent I'm not like the biggest horror fan, and it even had a little bit of that in there too, so it was really cool. Walked out of that theater just kind of awestruck, and I found myself even in moments in the theater where like I was like pattering my feet like an excited little kid, it's like, oh my god, that's so cool. So overall experience was just amazing.
Hell yeah. All right, peeps. What'd you think going in? Where was your excitement level? And then obviously coming out. I mean, I know you just did your own little wrap up of the Batman history on your show, and kind of so you were ready, you were prepared. What did you think?
Yeah. So from jump, when we first heard that Ben Affleck was going to be doing his own Batman film and he was going to be directing and starring and everything, and I'm just like, fine, let's do this. Like, let's get some more Batman. I'm not as big as a Affleck Batman fan as you guys are. Not to say he's bad or anything. I'm just not to the level that you guys are. So when I'm hearing that they're not, they're going a different route, Affleck's going someplace else, they're going to be starting a fresh take on Batman a little bit earlier in Batman's career, starring Robert Pattinson. I immediately am like, damn, why they gotta cast Twilight? We're just going to get Edward, and then I remembered the Heath Ledger moment. I'm like, all right, peeps, these are actors. They know how to transform into a character, and to see, like Frigginz was saying, his acting in other roles, I knew he was going to nail it. And then when you saw him a little shot in his makeup, like when he had the mask off and his face was all shaded from the makeup and all that, I was like, oh, he looks stone cold badass. And yeah, man. So yeah, I wasn't excited, but I was hoping to get excited, I guess. As I said on my last episode, I don't want a grounded Batman. I want a Batman where Superman exists. I want a Batman where he is also taking on Brainiac along with everybody else. And there's a reason why this human is there amongst all the gods that are the Justice League. We didn't get that in this movie. But yet and still, they could if they wanted to. Heck, if we could get like, I don't know. I was going to start talking about CW, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I don't want to go there yet. So, but no. So yeah, man, going into it, just right off the bat, this movie grabs me from his voice, this voiceover. Like the there's villains out, and they're getting ready to do crime, and little do they know I'm out too, and he's just out in his regular, just kind of hooded, just walking around, just kind of looking for trouble. And that whole first scene where he comes out of the shadows to fight those the little gang kids in the subway, man, I'm like, that was dope. This movie's going to be dope. And it didn't disappoint. This movie, it kept going, and there, as long as the movie was, and it definitely for me felt 3 hours. I was like, okay, Frigginz and I talked about it. Okay, they could end at this point. No, they kept going. Okay, now they can end it. Okay, they're still going. Like, it felt Lord of the Rings where they could have ended it, but unlike Lord of the Rings, the third one, I loved how they kept going, and I'm glad they didn't end it, because everything they gave us after that point was fantastic. From the music to Batman's own theme, like if he were to have his own shared universe and other characters, when he comes in the scene and he hears dun, 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 oh gosh, that was so cool. Sick, man. It was so good. Penguin not being the main bad guy at all, like, he was great. I knew Colin Farrell was in this movie. I miscalled it. I thought he was Riddler. Then Frigginz told me, no, that was Penguin. That was Colin Farrell. So I thought I got something wrong somewhere. The introduction of probably the coolest character cameo that I've seen in a while, and that was the Batcar intro. I absolutely love that scene. I mean, we'll talk about the scenes. I have multiple scenes here that I loved and I want to talk about, but my negatives versus my positives. This movie definitely surpassed all expectations. I kind of disagree with you, though, DX. I mean, you said this is not really a Batman we've seen. I feel like we have seen this version of Batman, but not for this extended period of time. Like, we've seen the detective Batman. We've seen the douchebag Bruce Wayne. And that's just who he is this whole entire movie. Whereas before we would get like maybe a scene or like 30 minutes worth of that type of character. And Frigginz, like, we're talking about the stretch on the PG-13. Like, Frigginz in the middle of the movie just kind of leans over to me like, they said fuck. Just in case I didn't catch it. But he was quite impressed. Like, wow, man, they said fuck. He was so happy with that. But you get one in PG-13.
I love it.
One. I was waiting for another. I'm like, man. So but yeah, it was overall like really enjoyed it. Man, we got a lot to talk about, and yeah, I'll give you the mic so we can get into that.
Keep rolling. And once again, guys, spoilers. If you've been waiting to see and you didn't grab the gist yet, we are going into spoilers. So this is your last forewarning here.
I spoiled that there was a Batmobile in it. Dang it!
Yes, there is a Batmobile.
I apologize.
Even though I still don't know how I feel about it, but
I got
there's
words.
a Batmobile.
I got words.
There's a Batmobile.
It's a year 2 Batmobile.
It is a year 2 Batmobile. So yeah, once again, just to kind of set it up, we are talking about a Batman that is on year 2. So I kind of appreciate the fact that he's like, I'm going to skip 1 year and we're still going to have this early Batman, but it's not going to be like literally like, ooh, I'm building my suit and I'm getting it together and this is what I'm going to go do. And like, I like that he's already established and there's already a signal in the sky. Things like that. Let's get going. It's kind of what Marvel did with Spider-Man, right? Like they jumped right to basically year 1, after he had already become Spider-Man. So I like that. We don't need an origin story again. Like I said, we've seen Batman done a million times, right? We didn't have to see Martha get killed again.
Man.
We didn't have to see the pearls drop. Like it was all just we were there. Like it's done. It's done.
Yeah, I even really like that they didn't show like the replay of it either, like a memory sequence. I'm like, cool, we get it. Let's move on. We understand the story. So year 2, we got Batman, and like I said, he's established, and we're just off to the races, man. There's a guy going around killing people, crazy hardcore style, and we're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So as always, when we jump into basically the gist of things, we like to start
kind of more on the negative side. Let's get it out the way, right? What are things that we didn't like that we kind of walked out saying like, I wish maybe they would have done this instead, or things that we just really didn't like what they did, or we hope that they had maybe done better. So we're going to jump right into this. So Frigginz, I'm going to roll to you first. Kind of what stood out to you as something that maybe the things you didn't dig about the film?
So for me, this is difficult because, as I mentioned already, it hits on a lot of aspects of film that I enjoy, a lot of aspects of genres that I enjoy. So I almost kind of struggle. So I'm going to preface my section by saying this is super nitpicky. I mean, when I say I was not happy with
We
it,
usually are when it comes to
yeah, it's the tiniest
Guilty.
complaints.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, even my complaint, I can find an excuse for it anyway to make it make sense, right? So, like, for example, I didn't like the persona of the Bruce Wayne part. I wanted to see that transition, that juxtaposition. This is at the beginning, so I'm thinking like, okay, I don't really see this as Bruce Wayne, right? So this is my struggle. But then,
agreed.
As time goes further, I say, oh, okay, I get what's happening. And jumping a little bit to the end, but like Riddler is talking to Batman saying, this is your real face. The other one is the fake face, right? So what I realized is the whole film, he is Batman, even when he's not wearing the mask. And it's not until the end where he finally realizes, I need to make a fake face for when I'm not being what I'm being. And once I kind of hit that aspect, then it kind of takes away that complaint. But nonetheless, the whole period of 2 hours and 50 minutes of the movie, I was kind of like, I'm not super vibing the Bruce Wayne part. But again, it kind of makes sense when you look at the whole picture. That was, one of the biggest thing that was bothering me throughout. Apart from that, another nitpick was, I really like Jim Gordon, and I really like the aspect of him. And where there are a lot of positives about his portrayal in this film, I also kind of felt that they did him a slight disservice. I think he's smarter and a better detective than they may have let on through this particular, like, it kind of, Batman always helps him out. Batman's always the smartest guy in the room, right? But I felt like he could have been a little bit more detective-y, as opposed to just kind of bumbling around the situation and kind of following Batman's shadow. So that was a slight issue for me, and that's just because I like the character of Jim Gordon. Again, love the portrayal here. Just think that the writers could have.
You saying you don't think he contributed that much?
I think he could have contributed more. Jeffrey Wright was amazing. I love him as Jim Gordon. I just felt like, especially early on, it was kind of like a lot of Batman just being the smartest guy in the room, which, again, that's a trope that we have to deal with nonetheless. And then to the smallest amount, I almost want to say that the length did. Normally, I'm like, I'll handle a 3-hour movie. Give me a 4-hour movie. Give me a 5-hour movie. I don't care. But in truth, like, there was a point where I was like, okay, this is the end of the movie. And then it keeps going. Now, luckily, the next phase that it kept going was good. But when I think about it in the bigger picture, I feel like, okay, could you have chopped this section out and still shown the same point maybe in a different way? Probably. I'm glad they didn't. But, being critical of it, I could see that maybe the length can be problematic for certain people, and even I, enjoying it and not it being a major problem, still thought like they could have ended it here and done a couple different things to kind of get to their point at the end. So really, those are the 3 biggest things that I had as complaints, but all 3 of them, in the grand scheme of things, circle around and are still good at the end of the day. So
doesn't really super detract from it. It's just things that stood out.
I did recall one of the like my biggest problem, but I figured one of you guys might bring it up later, so maybe I'll like hold off and comment when someone else brings it up, because I don't want to talk about everything.
All right, well, Peeps, I'll throw it to you, man. What did you pick out of this that you were like, I don't know about that?
So right off the bat, I already mentioned the whole grounded world and grounded universe of Batman. We've been there, we've done that. I don't want it. But whatever. That's what we got, and what we got was very entertaining. So I'm okay with it. Right off the bat, for me, that whole heavy breathing thing with Riddler, stalker guy, like heavy breather. Like I thought that was they're going to say like he's had some kind of lung problem or he has some kind of breathing issues. Some like there's
he's wearing a leather mask. It's hot,
it.
motherfucker. It's
Sure,
hot.
sure. I guess
Put a big rubber mask over your head. I bet you breathe like that as well.
Fine. I guess Batman still should. Batman should be sweating out of his rubber mask a little bit more or something.
Yeah, but Batman, his mouth's exposed. He could breathe better.
He could breathe. He didn't work on his.
Riddler was all zipped up and just
that's funny. He just couldn't breathe. It had nothing to do about him being creepy. He just literally couldn't.
No, he just had trouble breathing. He was in a mask. That's what I took from it.
Sure. But yeah, I don't know. That was a little interesting that they never got to later. So fine, whatever. There was
nothing to address. He was hot.
Sure. There were moments where it got super, super dark, and I couldn't see anything, and I found myself kind of like trying to look over edges to see things, and I thought that was amazing. That was great. But almost immediately, they would have they would take us in a bright room, or like there's a moment where I think Selena's headlight comes on, and I was just blinded. And I'm like, I want to see what's going on, but my eyes are closed right now. There's too many transitions from super dark to bright scenes for me. Maybe I'm just an old man and my contacts are really old or something. I have no idea, but
I think you needed to put some sunglasses on like Bruce did.
There you go. And yeah, Frigginz, man, I can't wait to tell you how much I disagree with your Bruce depiction. I loved I loved that Bruce. Like, yeah, it was great. It makes sense. Like you said, it makes sense as to who he is and why he's doing what he is. And immediately I'm like, great, thank you. Not just this stupid two-faced Bruce Wayne. Like, he's freaking hurt and damaged. Let's see that. So I liked it. And then, I don't know. I just kind of thought that one moment, that one scene where Batman takes a bomb to the face. He's fine.
Oh yeah,
he's fine. Right. He takes a bomb to the face and he's okay. It just knocks him out a little bit. It's okay. Just like when in movies when they hit him over the head with a hammer to knock him out, and then they just wake up a little bit with a splitting headache. It's a movie, so we'll do that. But like the police just take him into the police station and then start arguing as he's waking up. Hey, let's take off his mask, like right at that moment, so he.
What about the whole drive over there?
What about everything between that? Right. It's like nobody's about to brought it up until that one moment. So, and then I was at first going to be like, okay, sure, Batman gets out of a police station, but like when he rappelled up the the walkway. Oh, okay. We're talking about things we didn't like.
Don't like. Sorry.
Don't like.
Anyways, everything up to that point was whack. Outside of that, I can't really. I don't know yet. Did the kiss between him and Selena feel forced, or did it feel earned? I can't. I don't. I want to say it felt earned. But at the same time, I'm like, why did that just happen? But then I think I have a reason for that. So, but anyways, that's all I got for my nitpicks.
Okay, wow, I'm surprised. Usually got a lot more nitpicks than that.
I know.
So very interesting. All right, so I feel like my stuff for the most part is piggybacking off kind of a mix of what both of y'all said. So number one, I'll just start with the runtime. I'm like you, Fred. Like I usually feel like, yo, give me more. Like I want more. Like when they said Endgame for 3 hours, I was like, hell yeah! And is there a 4-hour extended cut I can watch?
Yeah,
let's go. And with this one here, like I was kind of excited it was 3 hours, but I was like, we'll see how it plays out. But I felt like that was a negative. Like it did feel like 3 hours. I remember at one point I did look at my watch and I was like, oh my God, there's still an hour left of this thing.
Wow.
Because it had only been 2 hours. And I was like, whoo. And I think that's just because of the kind of movie it was, right? Like I think it works longer movies work in Marvel because they have so much comedy and they're like lighter movies, right? And there's so many different moments of levity. Whereas this movie's just dark and brooding and does that for 3 hours straight. There's like no humor in this movie. Like it just goes. And then you're just like, I don't know. I feel like that bogged it down because of the runtime. So that was kind of a negative for me. Not that I absolutely hated it. I mean, it didn't affect me too much, but if I had to look at nitpicking on negatives, that was one of them.
Right, because it's like the main story is wrapped up when Riddler gets in there, right? And then they're like, let's show you this other aspect of him being a hero. Like that's where I thought, like, you know, that little extra chunk didn't necessarily need to be there. Maybe you could have done that in a different way, but it's still good. Like, you know, so that's hard.
Yeah. No, they got Riddler and it could have just been done. I felt like you know, the whole in the jail scene with Riddler and another person could have been I think that should have been the post-credit scene, like right there. Like I think that whole thing should have just been chopped out and it should have been post-credits. So so that was interesting that they kept that in the main movie. They could have just tweaked it around a little bit. My next piece kind of goes with what Peeps was saying, like the whole grounded thing. I like the movie for what it is, but to me, I feel like we did it. We did a whole trilogy of a grounded Batman with Christopher Nolan, right? And that wasn't super long ago. And then we finally are getting into this like DCEU world where it's like we got Aquaman and we got Superman and Shazam and we got all these different things going on. And it's just, and then it's like, nope, we're gonna go back and we're gonna do this whole grounded thing again. And it's like there is no other superheroes, and you know, it's just I'm like, give me something else, man. Like this, a movie like this that would have been maybe set in the DCU would have been awesome. I know originally there was a lot of rumors going around that this Robert Pattinson Batman was going to be the young version of the Ben Affleck version, right? Like since Ben Affleck he'd been doing it for 20 years. Let's go back to year 2 and show you kind of the ramp up. That would have been awesome. Worked. Like it could have worked because there wasn't much other DCEU stuff going on at that point other than like Wonder Woman, you know, like, so they wouldn't have had to tie too much. His hands wouldn't have been like tied into what was going down. I just hate the idea that we always have to go grounded with Batman. I don't like that has to be like such an idea, especially when he has such a crazy rogues gallery that just is so over the top, right? Like with all these characters. And then now we're going to get these characters, but they're going to ground them too. And it's going to be these, you know, other versions. Like they're already saying like, oh, what if we do Mr. Freeze in the sequel, but we're going to do a grounded version, or maybe he just decapitates people and puts their heads in the fridge, you know, like, so.
And that's it. Like if this was like a one and done, I'd be fine. But the fact that they're now like talking about making like another little Batman franchise in this, it's like, oh man,
I have to disagree with you guys. I want this new Pattinson Batman whole universe. Give me that Mr. Freeze you just described on. Yes, give him to me.
I mean, like I said, it's going to be cool. I'm not saying it's not going to be tight. It just, I would like to see the mystical kind of version, you know, like that actually is cold, you know, like, so. But I mean, there is a place for the grounded stuff. I just feel like it's just been done so much, you know, that do we need to see it again? So that was another pick for me. I'm going to kind of lean in with Fred on the whole Bruce thing. I same thing. I did not like his Bruce Wayne. I actually hated it. And what I really hated about it was that he had the same Batman voice for Bruce. It drove me fucking crazy. I was like, dude, you can't talk in a whisper like this to everyone and not think that like anybody's gonna pick up on that if you've ever talked to Batman. Like I was like, what the hell? I cared. Like it's a persona, man. He's trying to protect his damn identity. You don't walk around and talk like this. So it drove me crazy that he didn't have a distinguished voice in between. You know, that it just literally he did the same damn thing. Like I was joking to Geeky Pat when we walked out, and I was like, he should just use this damn English accent as Bruce. That would have been hilarious. Yes. He's like, "What's up there, chaps?" and then when he's Batman, now you'll never know it's me.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, like I don't know. I didn't like that he had the same voice. We gotta distinguish the two a little bit there. Yeah. Grounded voice, runtime. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I got. I mean, like I said, I mean we're nitpicking. Nothing took it away from me to where I'm like F this movie or anything. These are just things I was kind of like, man, I just wish they would have done a little bit more. You know, the Batmobile was cool, but I wish it was a better Batmobile. Like I love the visuals, man. Like it's the visuals. I want that badass car, but of course we had to go so grounded. There's just a muscle car that I reinforced. Like, no, dude, I want the Tim Burton Batmobile run down the street, shooting grenades out of it,
shooting clowns. Yeah,
exactly, dude. Like, you know, so it was a cool car, but I'm like, that's not really a Batmobile. But you know,
it's not my
but,
Batmobile.
Yeah,
I got you.
it's not my hashtag not my Batmobile.
Okay,
that's funny.
So yeah, so there you go. Yeah, I like my biggest thing would definitely be his Bruce. You know, and that's especially when we talk about, you know, so where I told you guys I was at the beginning with Robert Pattinson even getting cast, right? Like I didn't like the casting news, and I know, like, and it wasn't even the whole thing of like, oh, they got the Twilight guy. Like, I understand he's done a lot of other shit and he's a good actor. It wasn't even about that. I just didn't see Batman in him when he got casted. But I went into it with an open mind. I always said I bet he'll do a good job because I believe in the casting process. Like, obviously they didn't see probably 200 actors and then decided on him if he sucked. So like, so we knew he'd be good. And I will say this for him. I thought he was a really good Batman. I thought he was a great Batman. But once again, I fucking hated this Bruce. So like, you know, and maybe that will get better. Like you guys said, maybe just as it's because of this early version, and maybe he'll start figuring out kind of how to have the two sides kind of going forward. But in this one, when he was Bruce, which the good news is he wasn't Bruce very much. What I loved about this movie is he is majority Batman in this film, which I thought was great because that's my beef with the Christopher Nolan movies is that they're very Bruce heavy and barely any Batman in them. You know, whereas this one, it was the opposite.
We called Bruce Begins.
Yeah.
Bruce Begins, yeah. And then whereas this one, it was the opposite. We got a lot of Batman and very little Bruce. But when he was Bruce, I didn't really care. I didn't feel like it was Bruce Wayne. I just felt like it was just some little emo kid that didn't know what to do with his life. So I wanted to see more from it. And maybe we will get there. Like I said, I'm sure everything's for a reason, but that was a big hang up for me was, you know, coming out of it was the Bruce side of it, which is why I still lean on the Ben Affleck piece because I feel he was the best dichotomy of both sides, you know, of being that visual brooding big ass Batman from the comics and then also being the Playboy millionaire, you know, Bruce Wayne. Like I just felt like he really covered the threshold on both sides, which is what I needed in Batman, you know. So we'll see where it takes it, but that was definitely on the negative side for me. So flipping the script now to, of course, what we loved with things that maybe resonated with us, stayed with us coming out of this movie that were just like, man, that was some cool ass shit. So you know what? So Frigginz, we're gonna circle back around. What were some things coming out of this movie that you just absolutely loved?
Well, it's gonna be hard not to take everything.
Use your time how you want to use your time.
All right. Well, I feel bad if you guys don't have any time left, but let's start with first and foremost. I want to break it down a little cinematic, you know, tidbits, right? So you look at various aspects of the. That's right. You have to look at. Film is so interesting because there's like I'm reviewing this as a structural piece that, you know, is supposed to have these A, B, and C parts and how that is works or doesn't work. But then there's also the like enjoyment aspect of this, and for me, this film ended up bringing a lot of that together. But so I'm going to start with the score. I mean, music makes a huge difference in a film, right? And I suck at music. I don't know like bands names, so I'm gonna say this, and you guys are probably gonna shake your head. But like, was that Nirvana? That's a Nirvana song, right? I wasn't sure if that was like a Nirvana song or like another band that sounds like Nirvana. But that song was awesome, and I think it sets in this tone of this grungy Gotham, this grungy Batman, this brooding character. So that song was utilized extremely well within the film. And then that beat, and Don, you were doing it perfect earlier at that. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, it was so cool. Every time it came on,
very,
I was
very
like,
cool score.
Yes, give me a theme song. It reminded me of Magneto and when he came out in First Class, and like hearing his beat every time he came on the screen. Hearing the Winter Soldier's like little scream noise every time he comes on the screen.
Like Wonder Woman's,
Wonder Woman's every time she comes on the screen. So that was really cool.
It was a Nirvana song, by the way.
It was okay. I thought so.
Yeah.
But I wasn't 100%
Something
sure.
in the way.
So good, so good. Such
Yeah,
a
it was very
perfect
good.
addition for
And they
this
used it a couple
vibe.
times, which is usually
Yes.
you don't do with a real song in a soundtrack.
Yep.
So kind of cool.
I love that they had it in multiple places, and maybe
Even
because it
the
was
whole
so
Ave
long.
Maria that they kept playing.
Yeah. Everything about the music really hit true to me. So that was one aspect that I absolutely love. Then I love so much the noise that choices that they made in a couple different things. So first off was the spurs, as I mentioned, right? Those heavy metal boots that he's bashing people's faces in with those big old boots.
I didn't even catch that.
Oh man, how did you miss it? Like from the first time he walks out that shadow, that gang looks over and you just hear clang.
I hear footsteps, but I didn't hear it. Yeah.
It's that chime of the metal, man. That chime. I mean, like I said, I like Westerns, so it stood out to me big time.
Sure.
And then same thing when Penguin's upside down and you see him walking, and it's just that beat that Don was dropping, and then that ching, ching, ching.
I think he's just splashing in the water. I don't know,
well,
man.
that too.
And
it made that scene just so menacing. So really love the way that they used those different aspects of music and tones to create the synergy of the scene, right? So I want to break down just momentarily here the first. Oh, I'm not done with sound. I got ahead of myself. The car. I mean, come on. When that scene where he runs off and disappears and you're like, he's going to jump out of the roof or he's going to grab him and pull him into the shadows. No, what happens is you hear that screaming of the engine and you look over and that blue glow coming from behind the car.
The jet engine, man.
Yes. So cool. That scream, it was like, what is that? And then it stalls for a second and you think like, did it just die? Yeah. And then he just revs up that big old engine. It's like, rah, 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 rah. I mean, holy crap. That was such a cool intro for a car. Most of the time you have like the pull the cloth back and it looks so cool. This was more about the inside as what mattered, not necessarily the outside, Don. It was all about that beefy power in it. And I'm a sucker for a muscle car. So to me, apart from maybe the animated Batmobile, this is probably my favorite Batmobile. Absolutely loved it. It was amazing. So yes, those tones, that music, that vibe that it was created was just what was needed to portray this like darker, grittier tone. So I wanted to mention the opening a little bit, right? That opening scene of Riddler creeping into the dude's house, showing up behind him. Remember earlier when I was saying it was like kind of like a horror, almost scary? Like when he moves and you see the sparkle of the glasses, I was like, oh crap. Like
he did do that. I
was like, that's creepy. So it was creating this like horror aspect. And then he just creepily goes after him and starts smacking him on the head. And it was way more brutal than I was expecting. So, and that creepy tone carries on. I mean, this is basically the best Saw movie that's ever been made because he created those.
I said that to Geeky Pat. I was like, this is like Batman Saw movie, right? And he had the box on his head and everything. I was like, would you like to play a game?
Exactly. It's just the rats. Oh, gruesome. And of course the bomb on the collar thing and those different aspects. So when someone asks me, what is this movie like? I have to almost say it's like multiple movies, like I said earlier, and I have to warn them, like there's some creepy stuff, there's some action stuff, there's some mafia stuff, there's some superhero stuff. So but that creepy factor I think was throughout, and I really like that aspect. And that plays on from when he's individually attacking to at the end when there's this group attacking, right? And even that was scary and in a different way, so I really enjoyed all those aspects. Batman, man, guys, he was brutal and I loved it. Like when he's just like whomping on dudes on the ground, he's just like blah, blah, blah. I mean, just nonstop. I loved how brutal this Batman was. And there's okay, so we talked about like Pattinson, right? And people not vibing his role. Well, what Matt Reeves does here is he uses a trick of the camera to almost make him look a little bigger than he really was. And I'm not saying like wide bigger like a Ben Affleck Batman, but like taller in stature and size. And so he used, you know, kind of like that Michael Keaton box, step on the box to get the height right. So they adjusted the camera slightly, and Pattinson's pretty tall anyway, but like they make him look bigger than a lot of the people around him. And like when he's walking in to the crime scenes, the police, when you're seeing the cameras, they all are like looking up to him, right? And so this creates this idea of this dude is massive. And I thought that they did a really good job of making Pattinson maybe look larger than life than he really was anyway. So I like those camera tricks that they utilize. Gosh, I could keep going, but I want to save some for you guys. I mean, I like Selena. I like Penguin. I feel like Colin Farrell stole every scene he was in. What, you take my money, Vengeance? Where are you at, Vengeance? I love that he was calling him Vengeance. I mean, everybody did. But all these things were very, very cool. I think I'll add in some more as you guys are talking, but I don't want this to be the Frigginz show only, so I'll let you guys get a few things. Oh, come on. You started, it took like 10 minutes right off the top, so.
Hey, I'm the host. Check yourself.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was trying to introduce the film.
But yeah,
I rolled it to you first. Don't take advantage.
Fair. So those are some of the things that I really, really love to start with. And I'll chime in as we continue on, as the ball continues to roll over to somebody else.
Nice.
All right, Peeps, take it away. What you got?
So I like to use my silly analogy of my perfect superhero sandwich when I talk about these things. But you know, it had a really good story. I had an amazing main character. I said in my Batman episode, I want Batman. I don't want Bruce Wayne. And I got that in this one. As DX had mentioned, we got so much more Batman than we did Bruce Wayne. Amazing. Who wants to go to a Superman movie and just watch Clark Kent? Oh, I can't make coffee. Oh boy. Like, come on. Like, I'm done. Let's get to why we're here. It's called Batman, not, you know, Batman and his other guy. I don't know. But yeah, really enjoyed that. As Frigginz mentioned, the villains, which is Gotham, was great. You know, they gave us that image of that horrible place that Gotham is. Just this grungy, crime-ridden, it's just not a safe place to be, to the point to where like most of the police department is corrupt. And I loved that moment when at the end where they had Falcone, and you know, he's like, I got you guys in my pockets, I'll be out in a week. And then all those cops are out there, and then it's like, you don't got everybody in your pocket. And I'm like, thank you. Like, thank you for showing the GCPD to not be like 99% corrupt.
Yes, that was cool.
And so it that moment. And even I hope we get that little mustache cop. I don't even know if he had a name, but I hope
Martinez,
we get him. And if they do end up doing a Gotham City spinoff show, I hope we get like more of him and whatnot, because he was a pretty fun character. But yeah, man. So in terms of like special effects, did we get any kind of CGI in this? Like, it seemed like everything was practical, which in this day and age seems unheard of, and I appreciate and definitely loved. The as you said, Selena, her character, I liked her a lot. Probably my favorite. Not even probably my favorite version of Selena Kyle that we've seen up to this point. And I hope they don't bring her back right away. I hope that we hit a movie or two before they bring her back again, because if they're doing this whole thing that she's leaving, I don't want her return the very next movie and oh, you're back. And I'm not that shy. I just saw her. Like, it's not that big of a deal to me, but I don't know.
Can I derail your positives for a second and ask about that? I mean, because you know, one of the other aspects of the film is the romance brewing between them, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're focusing on that, plus it's Zoe, so like they're gonna want to bring her back. She's a big draw. Like, isn't there a party that wants to see, like, what if they say 5 years later? Is that enough? Does that cover like the draw, or do you need the gap?
I guess,
for real
but I
time?
would like, so perfect world, I would like for there to be a spin-off movie of her wherever she's going.
Ooh, that would be
I
cool.
think there's a Catwoman comic where she
is.
does her hijinks in Paris or something like that, and that would be interesting. She's in a Catwoman in a not Gotham city doing her heist, and Frigginz, it could be your heist movie, so I don't
Yes.
know, man. I think that would be fun, and sure,
Coming to
maybe
HBO
then,
Max.
There you go.
yeah, then we get a Batman movie, so we're already getting our Selena. Then we get a Batman, then she goes back to Gotham after a little bit. So I don't know. I think that would be fun.
Cool.
And yeah, just our Riddler, like you said, DX. I honestly could. You said it could have been an end credits theme. I agree, but I could have literally done without that cameo at the end. But we'll talk about that a little bit more. Man, I liked that they gave us that confirmation without it being too much Nolan-y, where Batman's existence creates these coterie of villains that he has. These weird, crazy, sadistic villains that are completely wacky. Batman's existence creates that. He, what do they say in the Batman Begins? You bring a gun, they bring or they have guns, you get armor, you get bulletproof vest, then they get bullet piercing guns, and then you get bazookas. So whatever. But the fact that Riddler was inspired by Batman's existence, that's why we have the Riddler. It's because Batman exists. I love the fear element that, like when everyone's looking up at the bat signal, they're just like, where is he? It's and there's a Batman animated movie, and it's got like a bunch of different versions. It's an anthology, a bunch of different animated versions of Batman in it. But one of them, people are like I heard he's like a vampire. Well, I heard he's this. Well, I heard he's like, I love that. Like nobody knows what this guy is about until he comes through and then smashes your face into the ground. So that was really fun. But yeah, man, like Frigginz, like I could go on and on about different things I love. Like I said, I love Bruce. I like the body scars on his body.
Oh, that was cool.
And just to tell you, he's kind of been through it. Andy Serkis as freaking Alfred, man, like loved it. At that moment where they kind of had, you're not my dad, you're kind of my dad. I really like that, man. It was dope. So. Yeah.
You see, I think that was the thing that pinpointed my dislike originally of Bruce, because I was like, this is Alfred, man. Like, how can you treat Alfred like that? But then at the
I couldn't believe they even threw that line in. Like, it just felt so played out with the whole, you're not my dad. Like, yeah, I am, motherfucker, basically. Like, like, come on, man.
Well, he even said, like,
so many times.
He even said, like, I wasn't a father to you. I taught you how to fight, but I wasn't, like, a father figure. He probably didn't take him to Chuck E. Cheese. He didn't nurture him. He probably just gave him enough cereal every day so he didn't pass out of hunger. Yeah.
But that's where, like, again, my it was like a roller coaster, or not even a roller coaster. It was like it was going this way and then it went that way, because like that dislike, the attitude Bruce Wayne had towards Alfred was the major reason I was not liking the Bruce Wayne vibe, because I was like, that's not anything I've ever seen before, and I don't like this. Yeah, and then,
I dug it. Yeah.
But then when he's in the hospital and he's talking to Alfred, and he's like, I don't want to lose someone that I care for. And then you realize how much he actually does care, and he was just being the Batman with that. And I was like,
well, he didn't realize. He didn't realize until that moment. He was like, I realized, like, wow, like I've never wanted to feel that pain again, and I never wanted to. And it wasn't until this moment that that fear came back to me. Like, gosh, I love it.
That saved the Bruce performance for me. So like I was disliking Bruce until that moment. I was like, okay, he's learning, he's figuring the things out.
Yeah.
And then he's accepting that he still has a reason to live, right? And that changed everything for me.
It's just the hospital, to me, that was obvious. I don't know. Go ahead, Dan.
the hospital scene actually pissed me off too, because like, so he finally goes to see Alfred, and Alfred starts to wake up, and he just starts grilling Alfred,
Right,
like not
right off
even
the
a
gate.
"How are you? I can't believe." Like, "Are you all right?" Like, there was just no sympathy, there was no caring for him. It was just business, right? Like the second he opened his eyes, he was just like, "What the fuck, Alfred?" Like, you know, like, and it just, I didn't like it, dude. Again, I hated his Bruce like so
Sure.
much. Like, he just
Sure.
didn't connect like at all. You know, and again, like I said, hopefully this is all for a reason, and it's all for a journey that will come to fruition. But like you said, Frigginz, like, we've always seen a better relationship between Bruce and Alfred. They have a very trusting kind of partnership, and I felt like in this, like, he was a grown-ass man, still very like offset with Alfred, like that I didn't really get why there was the tension there that it seemed to be for some reason, you know. Even though he was helping him decipher the riddles and everything, it was just still felt like, I don't know. I just felt a very big disconnect between the two.
So the growth that he experiences didn't save it for you, though?
Not really, no.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I
like,
think it's
I
going
don't
to take
know.
another movie for me to see their relationship evolve to
Yeah.
really take it somewhere.
Yeah, and I could see that, and I just feel like they're just rubbing it in our faces, like, you know, when the mayor is like, "Yo, Bruce, like, your parents are really big in the scene, and you kind of suck. So I want to help you not suck. So can we have a meeting later so you can not suck?" And you know, obviously that meeting doesn't happen, but like, he sees throughout his journey that like his parents, they were so much bigger than just rich people. They were actually trying to help, but then they were actually bad. But then actually they were actually good, you know. And you know, he'll see that if, you know, he ends up giving like what do they call it, the renewal fund, like, you know, he'll have like tighter I don't know, the closer watch on it so that it doesn't just go. I don't know. I feel this is his way of learning that he can do more as Bruce Wayne and do what he's doing as Batman. And this dude never sleeps, right? Like,
Right.
he never sleeps. So, yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, man. But yeah, you know, there's a lot of things I like about it, but DX, I think I'll let you have the one thing we didn't talk about.
I don't know if there's the one thing we didn't talk about, because like I said, I feel like all my stuff's the same stuff, man. I just, you know, I'm not going to sit and rehash everything. I mean, I think just for me, it wasn't really so many big key points. It was just what unraveled before our eyes for 3 hours. I just, again, I love that, you know, I love the idea of this movie being 7, but
Yes.
in a DC Batman world that took place in Gotham. Like, I love what they gave us. This Saw movie 7 horror film that happened to have Batman in it trying to figure out a crime. And I like seeing him on, you know, in a police room, like dealing with, you know, why the hell is he here? But like, no, I brought him here to help us. And I love the context, like recording everything, and he could go home and like revisit that stuff and kind of see, like, you know, like, what did I miss, and kind of review things. I know we've seen glimpses of the detective, but once again, we haven't seen it as much as this film did. This film really leaned in on the detective aspect, you know, multiple times, you know, him even finding that one last letter in the cage with the bat, you know, and he sees the bat flapping around, and then he kind of catches that there's the other letter up in it, and you know, the thing for the rug, you know, and then pulling the rug back and finding that all those trucks were stationed. And there was just so much cool like detective need, which is why I really want to see this movie again, because I'm wondering,
dude,
this movie falls over so much of like what's gonna happen that I'm curious to see how the replay value is going to be, because that's the problem with those type of films. It's like they're really cool to watch that first time as you're figuring it all out, and then once you know how the twists and turns are, you're just like, you know, like it's not because of all the cool action, it's just because of, you know, what's going to happen. And I'm like curious to see how 3 hours of this again upon a second viewing is going to be, you know, how that's going to play out. But I love the way it played out this time. Again, I love the visuals of Gotham. I thought Gotham looked the coolest that it's ever looked. I love just the way it was filmed, the lighting, just
that little
just
main
the
square that they
aesthetic.
had.
Yes, that
yeah.
one that looks almost like like kind of New York. I love those Gotham Square Garden, like
Sure.
Square Garden, exact same logo and everything. Like I just I love the way they had set it up. Again, I thought Robert Pattinson's Batman was amazing. I loved the Jim Gordon as well too. Jeffrey Wright killed it. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, like we said. Paul Dano as Riddler, amazing. And Will Ferrell or Colin Farrell, not Will Ferrell. That would have been a whole different penguin. Way different penguin on that. Maybe he'll be the Scarecrow. We'll see.
Yeah.
But just everybody killed it. I mean, it's just a really great ensemble. Like I said, well directed. Big moments when the action hit, it hit. When, like you said, like just that scene of the Batmobile revving up. I mean, that's a scene. That's something that sticks in your head, and it's a simple scene of a car turning on, but it's the way it was filmed, and that whole car chase is amazing.
Oh yeah, a lot of people died, but it was really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
One of my favorite.
I don't use guns.
Chases.
I just run people over.
Light them on fire. Yeah.
That seriously was like, as I was watching, I was like, this is one of the coolest car scenes I've ever seen. Like, I was so into it.
Eat that like Fast and Furious.
My feet were paddling like on the floor. I was like sitting up in my seat. I was like, oh my God.
So all of that was fantastic. Like I said, we've already nailed out the negatives. I mean, overall though, I mean, it hits, man. The drama level, the action level, it's just such a mixed bag of goodness. It really, really is all the way around. So, I mean, there's not really much else that I can add that you guys haven't really talked about. I mean, there are just so many little moments that kind of add up to big moments, and just it's the people that bring it to life, and they just really, really killed it in this. And that I love. And it's been interesting kind of looking through Twitter and kind of still seeing there's still a handful of people that are like, this movie sucks, and like I don't get it. And it's always interesting to see, because I mean, of course, no film is going to usually be universally loved. There's always going to be people that doesn't, and we've seen the Rotten Tomatoes actually kind of drop over the last several days. I mean, that first couple of days it was out, it was like 94%, then it was 92, then it was 89, and I think it's like 84 right now. Like, it just kind of keeps falling. Still very high, but like that's a big drop for that first kind of week out, as kind of reviews start to roll in. So
I think it kind of makes sense in some regard. If you look at it like, if someone's superhero movie is like Thor,
not very superhero,
then you get this, like, if they're really not into murder mysteries and dark stuff, like, then this isn't going to hit that button, right? And I heard a lot of complaints about people not wanting to take their kids to it or whatever. Look, I was watching Aliens and Predator when I was like 5, so like I turned out okay. I don't think this would be that much of a problem. Maybe
the guy that's revving his feet in the car.
I
don't know about that guy.
But no, I mean, but that's something to think about though, Frigginz. Like, I mean, like for me, me, like my daughter's 8. I take her to all the Marvel movies. I would not take her to see Batman.
It's scary, right?
This movie's way too dark, and there's just, this is one I would draw the line on and be like, nope, maybe down the road we'll watch it at home. But yeah, I and it sucks, because of course I want to take her, right? She's like, hey, a Batman movie's out. Why are we not going to see this? And I'm like, I have to explain, like, oh, it's not your kind of Batman movie. Like, we'll wait for DC Super Pets in a couple months, and we'll circle back around.
I don't think, and this is probably horrible parent Sean, but I wouldn't take them to see this movie, because I don't think they would like it. They don't want to watch a detective mystery.
Yeah.
They want to watch they want to watch Thor. So like that's my reason why I'm not taking them. If they would have had, they would have had some element of that they would have enjoyed. I'm like, yeah, man, y'all can check this out. Yeah, check out this RoboCop version of Batman. That'll be fine. But
yeah. Well, no, I think that's a piece of it too, Peeps. I mean, like, because it's 3 hours of a very slow burn, and just there's no way I could probably get her to sit through that and be enjoying herself, So
yeah,
definitely. So I mean, so that's awesome. So let's jump to the future. This is what I want to say. So basically, like, what do we think? You know, so we're coming off this film. We know it's isolated. We know this is not connected to the DCU. This is not our Ben Affleck Batman that is still technically in place in that world. We'll see where that goes when the Flash movie comes out. And obviously something's going to happen there. We're going to get Michael Keaton back and bringing that Batman back. We're going to see him in Flash. We're going to see Ben Affleck in Flash. We're going to see
maybe
Michael Keaton back again in Batwoman.
Yeah, Batwoman, yeah.
Batgirl, yeah. So, I mean, so there's a lot going in the DCU world, but in this world, right? This is a big movie. Obviously, the box office has come out. It's a big box office win. So we're going to get a sequel. They're already starting to roll ideas. Starting to hear some, you know, we've talked about the Mr. Freeze thing, a grounded Mr. Freeze. I've heard rumors of Court of Owls. I've heard rumors that he really wants to do Hush, you know, like different things like that. So like, which are all people I can totally see doing in a more grounded Batman way, right? Yeah. I do hope it time jumps. You know, like you kind of thrown out 5 years. Frigginz earlier, I would love a 5-year jump because we're going to get a more established Batman. What has he done in those 5 years? And by the time the next movie comes out, it'll probably be 3 to 4 years later anyway. So I mean, it would make sense at that point. Yeah, he's got to be the commissioner by that point. Maybe he'll have a better Batmobile by the next
film. We'll keep this Batmobile.
Time for that upgrade, baby. Time for that upgrade. Oh, you know what? I got to throw out real quick on the hates. I hated in the beginning of the movie that he kept changing out of the damn suit and riding the motorcycle. Like, I was just like, so I'm supposed to believe he's just carrying that heavy ass Batman suit in a backpack while he he's on a backpack while he's just riding a little dirt bike down the street. Like, and then he just would stop somewhere and put it back on until he was done.
We don't know. It could be very foldable. It could be foldable.
So dumb. It's so dumb.
Maybe it's reversible. Maybe he just flips it inside out.
Maybe. I'm like, he's just taking the time to change in between all these different scenes. Like,
that's funny. I didn't think about that.
But yes, but going back to the future, we did so again. We had kind of hinted earlier. There was a scene that came on towards the end of the film that I thought should have been the post-credit scene because there wasn't really one. There was a slight little like Riddler thing at the very, very, very end that just led you to a website where you can go read some other riddles, but not a real scene. But so I felt this could have been a scene. We go to Arkham and we see Riddler kind of dealing with, you know, man, I'm in this jail and I'm stuck and I don't know what to do. And then you hear a voice from the cell over talking to him. And this is our Joker. This is the new Joker, basically pre-Joker, I guess, style. You know, basically talking to him from the cell over. The guy's name is Barry Keoghan, I think is the way you pronounce it. He was in Eternals. He was Druig in Eternals. So he is the Joker, and I had heard rumors that he was going to be in it and that he was going to be the Joker. And they had filmed a couple different scenes with him as well too, but decided to only go with this scene here. And there's a makeup test shot that you could see kind of what he really looked like because you didn't get a good look at his face. Which obviously you could tell he's very scarred, and then we'll see how they kind of doctor that up if he puts the clown makeup on. But who knows, because it's grounded, and we'll see how they play with this one. They could just leave the scars and call it a day, right?
Are you curious how he got these scars?
Yeah, but we got the nice little laugh as we kind of faded out of Arkham, and so do we jump straight into Joker, or is that just, I mean, I don't know. Do you go and get an actual decent actor to do a 30-second spot in a movie without thinking like this is where I'm going next? Because he keeps talking about all these other directions to go in a sequel, and we're not hearing anything about Joker. So I'm just like, I don't know what he wants to do, or it could be a lot of villains in this sequel. There's also a lot of rumors saying that, remember at the end of the movie, when Batman's pretty much getting close to death and he jabs himself with some adrenaline, it happened to be a green glowing glue, and a lot of people thinking that it might be some Bane shit right there that they were teasing.
Some venom.
So that this is the start of what turns Bane into Bane. So very interesting there. So who the hell knows, man? But our future is definitely interesting to see where it's going to go in an isolated DC world that doesn't have the rest of the Justice League in it. So Frigginz, where are you thinking, man? Where do you think we're going? What do you think we're going to do next?
All right, so first off, I'm going to comment on this Joker thing. It didn't bother me, the conversation he was having, But the second he started laughing, I was out. Like, recast Joker, that sucked. That
Aw.
laugh was terrible. That was the worst incarnation of a Joker laugh I've ever heard. And I'm being extreme. I know. Look, the guy's he's a paid actor. I'm not. But like,
Yeah, let's hear your Joker laugh.
Yeah, I would probably have had a better laugh than that because it really just sounded
didn't
like
think it
a
was that bad,
normal
really.
laugh. It was just a boring laugh. There was nothing interesting about it.
Maybe he's not Joker yet.
Yeah, I don't know, but I wasn't sold on it.
It's his pre-makeup laugh.
I would be happy if they recast them all together. But if
They're not gonna.
Wow.
yeah, give me something else. He lost me at the laugh. But if I am doing the future of the Batman storyline, I want a couple things. So unlike Peeps, I actually want more Selina in number 2. I think you do a time jump, you bring her back to show that they've had time apart, but we, the audience, have not, obviously. But I definitely think we should have some things we haven't seen before. If you're going to do a grounded story, the Court of Owls is perfect, and it's perfect on multiple levels. One, it's grounded. It has people that fight. It has a mystery. It has a creepiness. There's like a whole little rhyme saying thing, like a hush little baby, don't say a word, like that kind of thing about the Court of Owls that's supposed to be in Gotham's like history. So I think you can add a scary component to explain the Court of Owls, and whether it's you can do the mass amount of owls that attack the city that, kind of like we had with the Riddler stuff at the end. And you can have the individual threat of a individual Court of Owl, maybe in the beginning leading to the mass threat. So I think the Court of Owls is perfect. The other reason it's perfect is because they have tied into the Graysons. And I think we definitely need some Robin. We definitely need some Nightwing. Give me something like that. With the Court of Owls, it allows you to bring in the orphan. And this film, the Batman, there was a lot of focus of Batman staring at an orphan. So, like there was a couple scenes where he's looking at the kid that just got, his dad was murdered. And then there's like the one at the end, he's saving the kids. And so there's this already, they're already doing kind of a prerequisite explanation of Batman is kind of like focused on these kids that lose their family like he did. So I think the Court of Owls would be the perfect option for this grounded story. I also like the idea of Hush. I also like the idea of a grounded Freeze. So I am all for any of these aspects.
I hate that so much. If you're just going to give me another serial killer, why Mr. Freeze?
Yeah.
Like, you have so many other options. Like, let's get Killer Croc, a guy with a bad skin disease that, like, Zaz. Like, there's so many other options. Why Freeze?
We saw Zaz.
Mad Hatter would be great as a serial killer.
When did we see Zaz?
Yeah.
Not in this. I'm
not
talking
in this.
about
Yeah, the other one,
Harley Quinn movie. Yeah.
So,
okay.
But I think that there's just a lot of different directions that they could go for it. So I am excited to see where we go. I had one other point I was going to make, and now I got distracted. So I might interrupt you, Peeps, when you're talking, so that I can. No, it's okay. This is a conversation. We're supposed to interrupt each other and chime in. So I appreciate that.
Frigginz is on fire today.
Well, I lost my train of thought of my last point, but if it comes back to me, I'll jump in and go. So, Peeps,
but you're not allowed to call it.
Oh, I'm not allowed to. Look at that. I'm taking over, Don. Just sit back real quick.
All right.
Peace. I got this.
Deuces.
All right. So yeah, the future. And I'll just talk about the what should have been end credits. I agree. Scene. I guess I'm like in the middle of you guys. Though I didn't hate the laugh. That didn't bother me. I did kind of feel, like that's the laugh. Like the Joker laugh. It is this iconic thing that is supposed to put chills down your spine, and like gosh, like walk, and it's kind of hard to follow Joaquin Phoenix's little, asthmatic laugh thing that he was doing, but it was fine. I'm not gonna be angry of him, and like I said, he's got some laughing years to work up those ab muscles to maybe get a better laugh. But it was fine. I am kind of feeling this Magneto to X-Men kind of feeling where it's like I'm kind of getting over Joker as as an antagonist for Batman. We have, Jared Leto's Joker that's still out there. We still have Joaquin Phoenix's Joker that's probably going to get another movie. Now we're going to have another Joker that's going to potentially be messing with Batman. It's like we got more Jokers at this point than we have Batman. And I don't necessarily need that. Joker is Batman's biggest villain, and of course I want them to work up to like a Joker encounter. But not I want that maybe like that. I want Joker to be the Thanos of these Batman movies, where they do kind of build up to that. And but at the same time, for Court of Owls and Joker, Riddler this movie did both of those. Riddler did a whole bunch of crazy, psychotic, global, explodey, terrorist Joker stuff, which is kind of Riddler too, but he just did that. So we're going back into that, yeah. And then Court of Owls, the whole idea is that there's a secret society that is actually running Gotham City. We just did that. We just had this. Falcone is actually running Gotham City. He's in charge of the police. He's in charge of the senators. Like he's running it. So then we're going to go back into well, who was running him? I don't need that. I don't want that. I just want them to just do another story of another character that Batman is trying to stop, and he's struggling for whatever reason. Maybe this guy does actually know who Bruce is, and Bruce has to come up with the idea this Bruce, unlike your guys' Bruce, doesn't want to kill. He's specifically telling Selina, you don't want to go down that road. Once you go down that road, there's no coming back. Maybe he has to struggle with that idea. Gosh, this guy knows who I am. He's going to tell everybody, or he's going to do something even worse, and I should probably kill him. I don't know. But of course that would make sense if that's Joker that he has to do that with. But anywho, Robin, that would be great.
Yes.
I don't want a grown man Robin though.
Oh.
I don't want Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah, I don't. He was what, almost 30s, I think, when he was that, and then Chris O'Donnell, 13-year-old Robin. And even if somebody pops up and says, "Hey Bruce, I remember that time we did the do. Here's Damian. Peace." And we get a Damian. I'm sorry, Frigginz, you're wrong. Damian is the best Robin.
Get out of here.
And to see maybe Bruce have to deal, and something we've never seen on screen, him have to deal with not only being a parent, but the parent of an assassin psychotic kid that just wants to, hey, let me be Robin with you, and I'm just going to murder everyone that we come across. That would be great. It's not funny, but I'm laughing, but let's do it. I don't know. So yeah, let's continue down the path of things we haven't seen on film yet. And I don't know, man. Flashpoint happens, things get flipped, turned upside down, and maybe we get this Batman, crossed over into a more super universe. We probably won't. I think they want to stick with what they're going, but that would be nice for me.
It'd be cool, but Matt Reeves ain't gonna allow it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Also, I didn't like anything you just suggested, Peeps. So
that's okay. That's okay. You are allowed to have your wrong opinion.
All right,
we all know they're never gonna do a little kid Robin. It ain't ever gonna happen. There's just too many bad logistics around that. He's got to be over 18, man. No one's going to present a grown-ass man bringing a little kid into danger every night.
Yes, but everyone's okay with a grown-ass man adopting a grown-ass man. That's fine.
He's his ward. He's technically adopted.
Sure.
Big brother, big sister.
Alfred's retiring, and he's now handing the,
Before the New 52, he did adopt Tim Drake. Just saying.
There you go. And a little piece of trivia: Tim Drake from the show Titans was actually one of the little kids in the first group that got beat up. Yeah, he was the one that ran away at the very end. That really, you could tell, didn't really want to be involved. But
he only half painted his face, so he wasn't fully.
Yes, committed. Exactly. He wasn't fully committed.
I wondered
but
about
that. That was Tim Drake on Titans. Yeah.
Is that like the initiation? Like as soon as you join the gang, you get the half. but then to get the full, you have to like knock a dude out. Like, you know, they were playing that stupid knockout game. Maybe that's how he would get the other half of his face.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Possibly. We'll see.
Did those guys even have anything to do with Joker? Where they're like Joker wannabes since Joker's already a thing?
No, exactly. Since they seem to have clown makeup on it.
Yeah.
Don, what about you? What do you want?
You know, who knows what the hell I want? I mean, like, honestly, like I said, I kind of speculated when we kind of rolled into this of where I think, you know, I think we're gonna get a lot more grounded stuff. That's why I threw out Court of Owls, you know, Hush.
Yeah.
I think Hush there's a big opportunity there for him, something we haven't seen on big screen again. You know, and honestly, I know we just did the serial killer thing, but I do almost kind of like the take of a Mr. Freeze serial killer.
Yes.
That just sticks his bodies in freezers.
That's awesome.
Everybody chill. So that'd be cool. But what we do know is that they are looking to do some spinoffs over on HBO Max.
Yep.
They are looking at possibly doing a Gotham City Police Department kind of show that takes place during year one. So possibly having Jeffrey Wright back and kind of following, you know, Gordon and kind of the crew around that year one kind of mark. So Batman is around, but they're still not really sure what's going on with this Batman guy. So that'd be kind of interesting. We already knew that we're getting this Penguin show, Colin Farrell coming back to have his own spinoff as the Penguin, which after we've seen the movie is going to be great because he was just so awesome as Penguin, and I would love to see kind of more of that gangster character. And they just announced over the weekend that they are working on an Arkham show as well too. That's also another spinoff in this universe. So, man, 3 big spinoffs all looking to come to HBO Max. What I think would be a great idea for the Arkham show is to do it like an anthology series. And like each episode, I think should kind of follow. Yeah. Well, no, it could be connected, but that each episode follows a different inmate. You know, like that's who cool. Is this person? How did they get before they got locked up? And it tells you the like kind of like it's just a one episode kind of like here's what this guy did before he got locked up. It'd be kind of interesting because I don't know what kind of show you could do around Arkham, like that would make a narrative sense to just be like a normal show.
It'd be like Orange doing something Black.
Yeah, it's just all the villains hanging out, showering together and shit. Yeah. You dropped the soap.
Right.
But, you know,
we're going to Oz, right? Yeah.
I like this idea though because like you could have like Hugo Strange going and interviewing each person, and then when he does like the beginning of the episode is him starting the interview, and then they show you.
Mind if I record this?
Yes, that'd be cool.
And then you get a little backstory, and then we see how some of these villains came to be. And doing an anthology style could actually allow them to get some pretty big stars to kind of come in and like be a villain for kind of a one-off kind of thing.
Yes.
So who knows? But we do have these 3 kind of in the works. So we'll see. Nothing has started filming yet, so I don't know what'll come first. But I know there was a setback on the GPCD one. Just because the showrunner, there was like creative differences. They didn't like the vision because Matt Reeves is involved in all of these. He's going to be a producer and everything. And I think there was some kind of beefing over the creative direction over the police one. So the showrunner left, and I think they haven't replaced him yet. So that one probably might be on the back burner right now. So I think the Penguin one will probably roll first, and then we'll kind of go from there. But the Arkham one was a nice little addition over the weekend. So we'll see where that goes. And then speaking of HBO Max, The Batman will officially hit HBO Max on April 19th, man. So we are only about a month and a week away of this movie being at home, and you can watch it as many times as you like right there on HBO Max. So very, very cool that, Warner Brothers last year was doing the day and date thing. This year, they're giving that theatrical exclusive for 45 days. And day 46, it's going to hit HBO Max. So very, very cool there.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, box office wise, the movie opened up officially to $128.5 million over the weekend, which is the second biggest weekend of the pandemic era behind Spider-Man No Way Home. Massively behind Spider-Man because Spider-Man made like $260 million.
Yeah.
And this made 128. But, but this is massive, man. Warner Brothers going into the weekend was like, we're just looking to make about 85. Like that was their estimate. We want to make about 85, and it made about 30 mil on that preview night, and then about 55 million on Friday, and it just kept on trucking along, man. And for a movie that is 3 hours long, that's pretty impressive that it was still able to rack in almost $130 million in its opening weekend. So obviously the biggest movie of 2022 so far. And then, but the second biggest during this pandemic era. So very, very cool there. All right, guys, it's that time. Final thoughts and scores as we kind of wrap this baby up, going kind of around. I will say this, like I said, pleasant surprise. Great action, great acting. Everybody killed it. Just a great atmosphere, something different. It felt once again like a Batman we hadn't seen before, and I was there for it. I mean, it was really, really cool. I would have preferred something in the DCEU. I would have preferred to seen that solo Ben Affleck movie that he wrote and directed. I would have been, man, it was so cool to see something connected with a whole bunch of villains and just kind of seeing something different. But this is what we got, and I'm very impressed by it. Matt Reeves is definitely somebody I think we all need to keep an eye on in the future. I think that this guy is just headed for complete greatness, because I love what he did with Cloverfield. I really love what he did with the last two Planet of the Apes films. Those are great movies, an awesome trilogy right there in its own right. And I mean, the guy just has a great eye, and definitely seems to have a bright future. So absolutely love this film. Can't wait to see it a second time. I'll probably go maybe next weekend and check it out a second time and kind of see, once again, how do I feel kind of rolling through 3 hours? Is it going to bog down more, or is it going to feel maybe more fluid going into it the second time?
Yeah.
Huh?
No, I was like, yeah, are you going to really feel the 3 hours?
Exactly.
No,
It's going to really feel like, oh my God, get to it. But overall, guys, I mean, 5 stars, baby. I mean, I loved it. I mean, with as much nitpicking as we had here or there, like I said, overall, it doesn't take away. It's really about that overall feeling of kind of, what did we get? Did we get that solid film that I was hoping for? And I feel we did. So 5 stars for the Batman for me. Frigginz, roll it to you. What you got?
Well, my final thoughts are very similar to yours in the sense that I absolutely loved it. This was a great experience of getting things that I didn't know I wanted. Originally I wasn't excited for a grounded Batman, as I said before, but then ended up being amazing and perfect in every way for me. I didn't know I wanted all these individual characters to, like, I was like, Catwoman Penguin again. We already had a Catwoman Penguin, but they did that in such an amazing way. Riddler again, but they did that in a different way. The Batmobile, I wasn't super sold on originally, and now it's like my favorite Batmobile. So it gave me a lot of different things. And another thing that I'm really picky about when it comes to a comic book film is trying to determine, like, where's that balance between giving me what I've seen in the comics before, what is in the comics, what's not in the comics, and giving me, there it is. That's the Batmobile right there. Very nice. But, finding that balance between what's been in a comic book and what's new and exciting for us. And, it's okay to change some of the comic book things there. But I wanted to see them incorporate something from the comics, and they did really well. There's a lot of hints of comic book things, like with the Catwoman and Falcone situation that came from one of the stories that has been in the books before. The Batman's costume is very similar to a costume design done by my favorite artist, Sean Gordon Murphy. So it gave me a lot of different aspects that I enjoyed. So I look forward to the future, but I do want to see that same Batmobile done, and I want to see that same Batman costume. When you think back to Batman 89 and Batman Returns, they had pretty much the same costume over those two periods. And then now we're in this phase where the superhero movies are always giving us new costumes. This costume was cool. I want to see this costume again.
It was cool.
So, we'll see how that plays out. But, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Why'd you say that name?
Batman.
Why did you say that name?
I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I am excited to see what they bring us for this round.
How many bat signals would you give it?
I give this 5 bat signals out of 5.
Okay.
And
it's nice to see you.
Very cool of you.
Yes, it is very cool. That was very hard to do with all those distractions. I want to say
I was gonna give you kudos for staying the course. So great job. Yeah.
Well, then, since
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
taking over, I'm going to
Yeah.
go ahead
Are
and
you
pass the mic over to you,
Give it to
Peeps.
me.
And
Okay.
let's see what
Thank
your
you.
final
Thank
thoughts and scores are.
you. Oh.
Oh, let's see how straight faced you got.
Gives you power over me. I'm just not going to look at it. I win. Yeah. So, as you can all tell, we enjoyed this movie. Peeps enjoyed it. Frigginz, we all enjoyed this movie. This movie kept me guessing from jump. You know, I tried to call it like, oh, I could from the beginning. I was able to tell what was going on. I didn't know what was going on through the majority of this movie, and I liked and I appreciated that. I like that they didn't just call Batman to the scene because he's Batman or he is the smartest guy on the planet. Literally, you're here because these letters have your name on it, and it wasn't we're just going to trust this guy. Like he was actually there's a cop that was like, well, maybe you have something to do with it, you know, like that. Again, GCPD isn't stupid, so I appreciate that. The brutal fight scenes, like what else could you ask for in a Batman movie? I mentioned earlier the escape scene from the police department. A scene that specifically I appreciated is the showing that superheroes aren't as graceful as they are in the comics when he parachutes off of the building.
Yeah.
Oh no, he Squirrel Girl like flies and then he throws the parachute underneath the bridge and it catches the bridge. He flips up, hits it, then hits the ground, and he's like, "Oh God!" Great, like that was great. Like to see like it does everything doesn't just work out the way it's intended. That was very much a Star Wars, Last Jedi moment, and yeah, I appreciated that.
I bet you appreciated the fact that he didn't pull a Harley Quinn and beat every cop in the police station.
I do, yes, because why would Batman do that? He probably punched a couple.
He would have if Gordon didn't tell him how to get out of there. He would have beat all their asses.
Yeah, he was thinking, I'm gonna hit this guy first because he's
exactly.
Yeah, but like at the end, like Frigginz, you feel that this wasn't like a superhero movie as in terms of what we're used to, but I disagree respectfully. Like this movie gave me that, and it was the extra hour that they gave us at the end that we see that heroic moment where Batman those Ridlites, I don't know, the Ridleyans are on top of the Titantron just shooting folks, and like gosh, it's like such a horrible moment. Like no one can do anything, and then you get like those explosions on the top, probably like injuring several people with giant shards of glass falling on top of them. But Batman comes down, starts kicking their butt, gets shot point blank by a shotgun, goes unconscious, and like sticks himself with the venom. And man, like that whole scene, I'm like, this dude is dope, and everyone up there at the top is seeing him. So like, I'm like, wow, the police department are able to recognize Batman for the hero he is, like what he's done to save everybody. Everybody of Gotham doesn't really see that. But then at the very end, when the electric wire is about to kill everybody in Gotham and he chops it and then falls into the water, which I thought he was just going to disappear. But then he comes back up and he's still doing more stuff. And then he tries to help everybody out. Like, man, just that whole bit, I loved it. Super heroic to the point where like people were afraid to even take his hand, but they ended up accepting him, and he's ushering everyone to safety. Like, and is this a perfect movie? No. Is this a perfect Batman movie? Yeah, I will agree with your 5 bat signals, Frigginz, that this movie gives me
not
everything.
my 5, only Fred's 5.
Well, you had 5 stars. You didn't have 5
you had
bats.
We had 5 bats.
We have bat signals.
Well, you didn't ask me how many bats I'm
It's
he was saving you for last. Fine. He's going to ask you right now.
Yeah. I didn't want to talk to the pop figure, so I'm sorry. But no, yeah, I mean it's such a good movie. Like you said, this director, I can't wait to see what else he's going to give us, because like everything he's given us so far, me personally, I like you, Don. You and I talked how much we love Cloverfield, and we love the Planet of the Apes movies, and now this, like, dude, what else are you going to give this guy? I'm super stoked, super excited, and I can't wait to see what else comes out of this. Whatever it'll be, I am now on board and excited to see it, even if they're going to stay grounded. Let's do it. So,
all right.
Also, this wasn't a question, but in terms of all the DC movies that are out, this is my second favorite of all of them, with Suicide Squad being my favorite DC movie.
Interesting.
I did not rank it because it's not a DCU film.
I know.
For the DCEU, it is not.
I know.
I ranked Batman movies. It's my second favorite Batman movie as a whole.
First behind being Batman and Robin, right?
Yeah. No, behind
BVS.
The Dark Knight. Yeah, I not BVS, The Dark Knight. And honestly, I have to watch this again, and probably several watches, to see if it potentially could surpass that. Only be in the sense that this has those genres that I really like, so it's more than just a Batman movie. But I don't really see anybody beating Heath for me. That Heath and not even just Heath, but like Two-Face as well. I mean, there's just so much goodness in Dark Knight. I don't think
let's not do it.
Yeah. So, but again, right, currently behind Dark Knight for me.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, that is the Batman spoiler review. Like we said, lots of Batman coming up in a couple months. We're going to have the Flash movie, like I said, with Ben Affleck supposedly coming back for the last time as Batman. Can't wait to see what he does there. Interested to see where the DCEU kind of shifts it up and brings us our Michael Keaton back and kind of blurs those worlds. And like we said, we'll see Michael Keaton return in Batgirl as well too, which is also supposed to be out before the end of the year. So I'm expecting those pretty much back to back, because I think Flash comes out in November, and so I'm assuming that Batgirl will be out in December if they're going to try to do this year. I feel like it has to come out after Flash, so I can't see it hitting before then.
We're also going to get Michael Keaton in the Morbius movie, and then Michael Keaton whenever they get Beetlejuice going. Like, Michael Keaton's got work. So
lots of Michael Keaton. Yeah, because he's cloned, man. Multiplicity, dude. There's a lot of versions out there.
Nice. Hopefully they didn't clone.
Lots of Michael Keatons out there. Yep. I want pizza. But lots of goodness in the Batman world. So very, very cool there. So, of course, let's shout it out there. Plug, guys. So, Frigginz, where can the peeps find you, and what's up?
Well, I try to make it as simple as possible. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Frigginz. That's Frigginz, Frigginz with a Z, on both places. Also, if you're into D&D, we do some D&D streaming, live streaming on Twitch. That runs about every other Saturday. But follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and I'll let you know. That would be at twitch.tv/Mead and Friends. That's Mead, like the drink. And then, of course, here on Red Dragons Radio, I get to sprinkle in some visits here with DONMEGA on Am I Still on the Air, and as well as a few visits over with the People's Forum with our boy Peeps. So thank you guys for continuing to have me on, and haven't booted me out yet, even with my bad takes sometimes.
Gets close every episode.
We'll
see.
You're slowly taking over our show.
I'm just practice. I do have some stuff brewing. You're gonna hear some extra news come early May, so hang tight. I got early summer. Something's happening.
All right. We've heard that before. We'll see. I'm excited. All right, Peeps, what you got? Where can the peeps find you?
Yeah, so as you see there on the Twitter's at 4MyPeoples, 4MyPeoples, the Twitters, I do host the People's Forum. Every Monday, I drop some Marvel/DC news, reviews, whatever there is to talk about. It's been a bit barren lately, but now we got some Batman content to talk about. So who knows? Maybe I might get a couple bros to talk about a specific Batman movie that I think we all really enjoy, just to get in the nitty gritty of it. But we'll see. That's the People's Forum. You can find it on the Facebooks, on the Spotify's, on the or iTunes. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, if you like this kind of stuff, I like talking about this kind of stuff.
I missed when you used to say PEEPLES, that double E for the people.
That is the double E, but
it's
they
the double E.
see it. Oh, actually, this is also on podcast format.
That's
too.
true.
True.
So there you go.
Two E's
For the
the
audio
double E.
nerds. Yes. For my peoples. Yes, check out the People's Forum. Always playing on demand there on Red Dragons Radio. So make sure you check that out. And of course, for our show here, make sure you follow on Twitter at AmIOnTheAir, all one word. And make sure you follow the show. Of course, the main podcast, Am I on the Air, airs every Monday night. Always streaming the latest and greatest in entertainment news. So television, movies, and reviews. Make sure you check that out and follow us on Twitter at Am I on the Air. Follow me on Twitter at DXDonMega. And of course, everything else you see right there in that little ticker on the bottom. I mean, we're available on all the social medias. We're available on all the different platforms. Just basically whatever you want to look us up on, just search Am I on the Air, and I'm sure you'll be able to find it just nice. So thank you once again so much for joining us here on this Am I Still on the Air spoiler edition of the Batman. I'm sure, God, what's the next big one, man? I think that we might not be back until little Doctor Strange.
I mean, we got Morbius. I don't know. We're going to do that.
Oh, we do got
I'm
Morbius.
down with Morbius. I'm down.
Okay. I forgot about Morbius.
Yeah.
He's going for the Morbius pop. So for those of you that are not watching on YouTube, he's got a Morbius pop.
It's a dusty Morbius pop.
He's got some fangs
I know.
on him.
He does.
Oh.
But yes, Morbius, April 1st. So maybe we'll be back then for another new episode of Am I Still on the Air? So keep your eyes peeled for that. And of
I
course,
hope we
across
don't
all the
bash
social
it.
medias. I know. I'm so curious, dude. I do not know what to think when it comes to Morbius. So it's going to be an interesting one for sure. So
We'll see.
till then, keep your eyes on the shows and support your boys and take care of yourselves and each other. And until next time, y'all. Peace.
Deuces.